I'm like, dude, your dad first. Your dad won.
Yeah.
I just want to be another positive male figure in their life.
Yeah.
And then transitioning into having more of a role, I sat back and just watched and allowed the kids to grow into what they wanted me to be.
Yeah.
I never was, call me this, call me that, call me whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable with. That's what I want it to be for you.
What's up, dads? This is the Rise and Dad podcast, a podcast and perspective on life as a dad from dads who are intentional about their fatherhood. I'm your host, Kevin Delro, and I have a really awesome guest today here with me. He is a two-time WNBA champion. He got some rings.
Got some rings.
He's a former college hooper and a father of four who has such a great story around hers, mine, and ours with his family. I wanted to welcome Ryan to the pod.
Oh man, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Ryan, why don't you give us your dad stats?
Yeah, I've got 4 kids, 2 of which are mine, 1 from a previous stepfather to 2, and then our youngest daughter is ours. 3 teenagers, we call them the bigs. And then Nia Rain, the queen, she runs the show. So we go 16 and 2 14-year-olds.
Wow, I love it. And when we were bringing you on the pod, I thought, what a diverse family from ages and everything, just the blended thing. Like, it's such a unique angle to talk about. And there's probably a lot of dads out there that are going through something similar. So what's going on in your family right now?
So the bigs, high school, they just got done with their second trimester. We've got sports going on. My 16-year-old Tommy, 14-year-old Riley, they're both in lacrosse right now. So gearing up for that. My son Miles, he's basketball, just like his
All
dad.
day,
Yeah, basketball's life. Yeah, and then our kids' schedules, sports schedules, have us running around all the time. And then Nia, the queen, she's just doing queen-like things.
I love that. Yeah, and there's this point where I have friends, and when they have their kids and they start getting into sports and select teams and all that, and I always say to them, I'm like, you get to a point where you're just like a taxi driver. You're literally carting them from place to place. And
100%.
I could imagine with all you guys and all that activity in sports.
100%. It's on top of the sports schedules, then it's like their social life.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey, can I go here? And it's terrible planning.
Yeah.
They'll
You
ask
knew
us
like an hour
15
before.
Yeah, knew an hour before, but said nothing to us.
Yeah.
But can we get them there?
Yeah.
I'm just happy that our 16-year-old has his license. So
there you go.
He's stepped up and helped out a lot. Yeah.
That's awesome. I wanted to touch a little bit about your history, just you with basketball and coaching, because I think that translated a little bit into your fatherhood. So.
Yeah. I started hooping kindergarten and along with other sports, and basketball was just the one that really stuck out and the one that I really grasped onto. I think I was fortunate enough to be able to play the game and continue it through college, and really had an affinity for leading. And my position was point guard, so I had to know everything that was going on the floor all the time. And
that's helpful in parenting.
Yeah, exactly. And that transitioned into this idea of maybe I should try my hand at coaching. Had an opportunity to start coaching youth when I graduated from college, youth, AAU programs, high school. And during that time, I actually was approached to be a practice player with the Storm. And I said, are you kidding me? Absolutely. I get to go be in the gym with Sue. At that time, it was Lauren Jackson. At that time, it was Cheryl Swoops.
Yeah.
I'm like, these are legends.
Wow.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I was playing around with the idea of possibly going maybe overseas to play.
Sure.
So this was like a way to stay in shape and be around the game. I was one of the more consistent players and started taking on a little bit more of a responsibility, like with the other practice guys, ensuring that they were going to be there.
Yep.
Helping them run through what the other team's scout was. You know what I mean? And that kind of turned into an internship, which turned into a full-time position with them as an assistant coach for 7 or 8 seasons altogether, with the organization for 14. And it absolutely fantastic experience.
I love that. And I had a similar dream to that, but there just wasn't a need for a 5'6" Filipino point guard at the time. I had to go and start this podcast.
Yeah, man. Hey, there was a need for this too. Yeah.
And what's great, obviously, I know you in coaching and all that, you talk about the organization, and that really comes through in your parenting that we'll talk about later with ADHD and your kids. And I think it's going to come in really clear with the organization and just how you set things up and the structure.
Absolutely. It's part of the responsibilities when you're a professional coach is scouting.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
have to
for sure.
always be looking ahead.
Yeah.
You have to be able to prepare. You have to be able to pivot
Sure.
in certain situations. You got to be able to go back, look at a box score, reflect on
There you go.
what went well, what
Yeah.
didn't. So there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Let's just jump into kind of your journey to fatherhood. Your firstborn, Miles,
Yep.
was a little bit unexpected, I guess you could say.
Absolutely.
Why don't you tell us that story, how that happened?
Yeah, as you said, Miles was unexpected. His mother and I, we had been together on and off and whatnot, and he came to us when we were in like an off moment.
Yeah.
And it was like okay. It's really weird. I didn't have any stress. I didn't have any like overwhelmness. I didn't have any fear. I was like ready to take it on.
Yeah.
We needed to work through some relational things, but
Yeah.
I was ready to, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I got a little man
Sure.
coming to this world. But yeah, it was unexpected for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you kind of transition to unexpected to I'm in dad mode, he's here, let's do this?
Yeah. It's interesting, man. Like I had a real kind of organic transition into fatherhood. I feel where it just like things came to me.
Sure.
Like there was this
You were built for
intuition.
it. You're
Man, and I think still to this day, my son and I have I was in grind mode when
Sure.
he came to us and everything. So he grew up following dad around in the gym all the time. I didn't necessarily set him up with a lot of play dates because I was coaching AAU tournaments or whatnot. So he grew up a little bit fast. But yeah, it was an interesting kind of transition, but I feel like it was natural,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was I don't know how that impacted your relationship with his mother at the time. Is what we can guess is that our relationships with our partners and our wives, also known as their moms and dads,
Yeah.
has a great impact on them themselves. And
Ye-
so did that kind of change, or how did that change how you acted with his mother?
Yeah, to keep it a buck, there was moments of struggle,
Yeah, yeah.
because we were on this inconsistent path relationally.
Because you guys weren't together.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, the one thing that we realized is we'd rather have our son have two happy parents separate
Sure.
than two maybe not so happy parents together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we wanted Miles to get like the best versions of us that we could possibly give. And it took some time to get to that point.
Yeah.
But now she's remarried, has two kids and
Yeah.
whatnot. And I have an incredible relationship with her husband.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even to some degree with Miles and your kids, you want them to learn to find what makes them happy, right? If you were not happy in the relationship, you're not setting the example for, hey, we want to be truly happy. And I like that. And obviously the co-parenting thing is big, right? You can't be like at wit's end hating each other.
No matter what people say, set aside your personal differences to parent. Like the reality is if you have some personal issues, some
Sure.
personal shit
Yeah.
with the person you're co-parenting,
Yeah.
I believe it's going to come out in the kids will see it.
Yeah.
And it will get in the way of how you guys parent.
Yeah.
So
sure.
it's a lot harder to do is to set aside personal stuff. So you gotta work on that in order to be the most effective parents co-parenting together, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And I say it all the time. Like when me and my wife have issues, it's like we have issues and we love each other to death.
Yes.
And that's hard enough,
Yes.
right? If you're not feeling like that with your partner, like good luck. That's even harder,
Absolutely.
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from Miles, then you get married to your wife, and then it becomes the blended family.
Yeah.
And why don't you, before we get to Naya, who is ours,
Yeah.
Naya Rain, tell us how that all came about.
Yeah.
I guess meeting your wife and then the whole
Yeah.
family aspect.
So I met Jenny through our mutual friend. I'd been hearing about Jenny for years, but she was married.
Okay.
And it wasn't the right time for us to meet.
Sure.
Then it was the right time for us to meet. And I knew she had two kids. At that point, Miles was 4 or 5 years old. Her kids were 7 and 4 or 6 and 4 at the time. And with my experience coaching youth, being around youth and whatnot, now obviously going to pros, but still coaching youth in the off season and whatnot, I was like, I got this.
Yeah.
This is
Kids are
we can
cool.
do this.
Yeah,
Yeah, kids
yeah.
are cool. I got Miles on lock. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna try to come in and be these kids' father. They already had one.
Sure.
I can just be maybe somebody that they could look up to
Trust, yeah,
when
for
it
sure.
comes to their mother.
Yeah.
So yeah, when she said she had kids, I didn't bat an eye because hell, I had one. So
Sure. Yeah, for
you
sure, for
know,
sure.
yeah,
And then comes Naya Rain, right? So
yes,
she's your ours
yep.
girl. And why don't you tell me how she completed the circle and how that kind of all came about?
Yeah, so Jenny and I had always talked about having a child of our own would kind of is like the missing link in our already beautiful blended family
Yeah.
that we had started.
She already had a full house.
And I'll be honest, we also were like, we already have 3. We could do 4. It's not going to be a problem. They're old enough now.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more independent. We can do this. And we did it.
Yeah.
And no, she's actually our rainbow baby. We had tried and went through, got some devastating news
Sure.
that
Yeah.
our previous child didn't make it. It went to a routine checkup
Yeah.
and there was no heartbeat,
Yeah.
which is for as common as that happens, it's
Yeah.
still a very isolating feeling as parents.
Yeah.
You ask why, and then
Yeah.
you're like, what did we do?
Right.
And so we got through that together, leaned on each other a lot,
Yeah.
and then kept trying.
Yeah.
And
There you
in that
go.
second attempt, that was Naya.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. Every doctor's appointment was very nerve-wracking.
Sure.
But you're just
Makes
waiting.
sense.
You're like, okay,
We
heartbeat,
good? Yeah.
good, healthy. Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
we'd leave instead of being like excited to see, we'd leave like,
Relief. Yeah. Yeah.
So-
So did your kids know about they obviously knew what happened. How was that experience about telling them coming back from that doctor's office?
they were at an age where they didn't quite understand like how and obviously why and whatnot. They were hurt just like we were, but we told them we're going to keep trying. And if it's meant to be, it'll be and whatnot. And so when all was right with Naya and she came into this world, they were elated and they are fantastic older siblings.
Yeah.
Classic teenage shit every once in a
Yeah,
while.
of course.
But
Yeah.
like
No one's
through and
perfect.
through, like very good older siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So before we hit on that next topic, if knowing what you went through and you have there's a dad that might be going through something like that now, what's your advice to him?
In terms of being stepfather stepping into like a family or
the miscarriage.
miscarriage,
Yeah.
man, it's
How'd you get through it? What's some
yeah,
tips?
it's for whatever reason we felt like we were the only ones that were going through this.
Sure.
And
Nobody talks about
no
it.
one talks
really.
about
Yeah.
it. It's a very personal
Sure. Sure.
thing, and depending on, especially for the woman,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, who's carrying this baby, it's a very personal thing for her. And I think being very open, when I say we leaned on each other, we cried together.
Yeah.
We told each other, we allowed each other to be angry. We weren't angry at each other,
Yeah.
but we gave each other the space to work through it.
Yeah.
And I think that's necessary. I think if you go through something like that and then you don't talk about it, it's, hey, no, this is something you need to talk about.
Yeah.
This is something you should probably just sit down and reflect on and whatnot. And we were able to lean on each other in that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's feel all the feels,
Yeah.
go through the motions.
Yeah, feel it.
And
You
just
got
kind of
to.
power through it after
Yeah.
feeling.
It's one of those things where it's that loss brought us even more together in a lot of
Yeah,
ways and prepared
sure.
us even more for Naya.
Sometimes the bad shit is what makes all the good shit even better.
100%,
you know?
man. 100%.
I'm going to ask you about your approach to being a dad. And I have an idea that it's going to be around coaching and organization.
Yeah.
But we talked about how your coaching is your consistency. We talked about this idea of coaching the facts.
Yeah.
And we'd love to hear about that because I know that there's some coaching dads in here on the podcast too.
Yeah. No, I think one of the things that I've learned over the past as being a parent, being a dad, is kids need consistency. They need consistency in your presence. They need consistency in your messaging. They need consistency even in expectation and consequences.
Sure.
Because if they don't have consistency, then they don't really know what they're meandering in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that's extra hard being in a blended family because you're trying to instill some morals, values, expectations in your own household. But then your kids go back to their other households for 50% of the time as well.
Mhm.
So you gotta figure it all out and try to make parenting not in silos as much as possible.
Sure.
But no, my approach is the same way. I wanted to show up as a coach, being the most consistent coach.
Yeah.
I can't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Consistent in all ways.
on top of everything. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Making sure my scout was clean, making sure the player development was clean, making sure that I'm able to listen to what my players are saying.
It's all the same thing. You just remove players and you change it for kids.
Exactly. I think the only difference really is, and this is what I've talked about my therapist a lot about, is sometimes you need to take off the coaching cap and you need to put on the dad cap.
Sure. How's
Especially
that different though?
especially with my son playing basketball
Yeah.
after a game. Oh yeah, let's dissect the shit out of this game
Yeah.
as a coach.
Sure.
Sometimes it's, oh, I need to actually just listen to you
Yeah.
as your dad about how this game went for you
Sure.
and maybe not say anything about the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like X's and O's, technicalities, bad foot position. You need to follow through, use your legs. What were you seeing on that pick and roll read? All those things.
There's a thin line because like even me growing up playing basketball, the ride home was always something that I didn't like if I played bad. It's probably the same for you. And for most kids, right?
Yeah.
Your dad or your older brother telling you, yeah, you should have done that,
Yeah.
do this, and blah, blah, blah. And so now that I'm a parent and my daughter is not in sports yet, but like I struggle with, I want to help her and help her improve and grow, but she might not want to hear that from me. So how do you mix that? Because obviously coaching is in your DNA. Like you do that. So
Yeah. I actually tell the teenagers, I define what mode I'm in when I'm giving feedback.
yeah.
I said, oh, I'm gonna put on my coaching cap now.
Yeah.
Your expectation, like what you wanted to get out of this, didn't match the work you put in.
Yeah.
You
I like
know?
that you put it on them. What you wanted, you didn't.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And that's just coaching cap.
Yeah.
And then I'll put on dad cap and be like, so what did we learn? You know what I mean? Hit more of the, I don't want to necessarily say softer side, but more of the
EQ, the emotional.
Yeah, exactly. Hitting that side is when I put on dad cap.
Yeah.
But when coach cap comes on, it's look, here's realities of life. You know what I mean? These things mean something. Like you got to be honest with yourself, all those types of things.
Yeah.
And then dad will be there to be like, let's have some fun with it though.
Yeah. That's
So-
good. I'm still trying to balance that because like for me, and my wife will correct me a lot because I'll be like, oh, like you need to try this or do this. But my wife will be like, actually, you did your best. You tried really hard. And that's what we care about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, but also
Yeah.
I have to catch myself. Right. Because
Yeah.
I obviously want to push her and I don't know how to push her, but also just be like, if you tried your best, that's all I care about. Because truly, that is what I care about.
Yeah.
But you want them to succeed and you want them to do well. And then I'm like, is that just what I want? I still haven't figured it out. I don't know what I'm doing.
One of the talking to my peers and whatnot, I got asked a question that really struck a chord, right? I was talking about my kids doing this, my kids not understanding this life lesson, and they say they want to do this, but they're not doing that. And so there was one particular piece when it came to sport, and one of my friends said, what happens if he doesn't make the team? And I was like, yeah, what does happen? Okay, then it's okay. We reassess from there. But I was focusing so much on the things that you got to do this because you got to do this. If you want to get to this point, you got to do this.
Yeah.
And what happens if that doesn't happen? That's more a teachable moment as dads to help them understand what that moment is, but it's not really about me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's about my bigs. It's about Naya's experience and whatnot. If they don't make a team, we can sit back and say, well, you didn't work hard enough. Or, no, you got to do. What happens when Miles has a bad game? He has a bad game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as much as I want to be like, yo, you could have done this, or I really want to see you, they've got to learn that within themselves.
Sure. That's a
So
good one. I
yeah.
like that. Man, that was heavy too.
Yeah.
I like that. That was a good point. I always make sure with my daughter, I'm like, with everything, not just sports. Most of the time I say, whether we're going someplace that she wants to go, we're eating at someplace, I say, Rui, my daughter's name is Rui. I go, Rui, we're doing this for you because I think that you're going to go into gymnastics. We're here at gymnastics because I think you're going to like this. If you're not having fun now, we don't have to do this. Or if you don't like shooting hoops with dad, we could stop right now. So I push her to try new things, but at the same time, if you don't like it, we're not doing it because we're
Right.
doing it for you. I'm here
Right.
because of you, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I like that a lot, actually. Yeah.
We're going to move on to a little bit more. I want to touch more on the blended family because
Yeah.
coming in, we've talked about how hard it is to be a dad. And you're coming in and you're, to some degree, being a dad to someone who you're a little new in their life. I'm talking about your stepkids.
Yep.
And so can you tell me a little bit about how you set the tone for your role and who you were in their lives?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was actually modeled to me from Miles's stepdad. Him and Miles's mom's relationship started to get way more serious. They're talking about moving in together and whatnot. And he reached out to me and just had a real conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't even know, I wasn't expecting
props
it.
for that, man.
Exactly.
That's big time.
And I was like, man, it just eliminated any assumptions at all. You know what I
Sure.
mean? He was just like, I'm just here to be your support system.
Yeah.
You
It comes from a good place, good
you are
intentions.
dad. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I will be the other man in his mom's house,
Sure.
but you are dad first and foremost. And I just want to open up that line of communication and just let you know. And I was like, man, I wasn't even thinking about it because I'm not that type of dude.
Yeah.
Like where I have like big pride and ego about
Sure.
I'm the dad.
Right.
But I was like, man. And so that was the first thing I did when Jenny and I got serious and I was establishing more of a role in Tommy and Riley's life. Is I asked their father if we could sit down and chat.
Yeah.
And he didn't quite understand it. I don't think he was in a space to really be able to accept what was happening.
Sure. Yeah.
But I reassured him, I'm like, dude, you're dad first. You're dad one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just want to be another positive male figure in their life.
Yeah.
And then transitioning into having more of a role, I sat back and just watched and allowed the kids to grow into what they wanted me to be.
Yeah.
You know what I
When
mean?
they ask you something, you're like, okay, that's what you come at me for.
Yeah. I never was, call me this, call me that, call me whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whatever you're comfortable with. That's what I want it to be for you.
Yeah. Because it's new to them
It's
too. Yeah.
new to them. And so I always had that in mind. And then it would we'd have conversations. Jenny and I would have conversations and it's not like I was asking permission, but we started talking about, okay, where can I maybe cross a little bit more of a line and okay,
That's good.
hey, first time listening, let's work on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What are my boundaries?
Because you got to be learning and teaching them too, right?
Exactly.
Teaching things like accountability, honesty, all that.
Absolutely. I wanted to be that echo from what their mom was saying. And so I know there people coming into this situation, I feel like want to be like, I want to be the best stepdad ever. Yeah. And I think sometimes trying too hard might, at the beginning, might be a little.
That's a good point.
Like,
Slow
your intentions are good.
Listen, feel it.
Kids, man, they tell you so much without necessarily even saying words sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They
give you the feedback and whatnot. And I think I was lucky because I connected with both of them real fast.
Yeah.
But even though we had that connection, I allowed them to.
I like that. I like that the advice of like slow playing it, feeling it out.
Yeah.
But also it's big when you talk about reaching out. I mean, it happened to you reaching out to their father and vice versa. It happened to you too, because, you know, despite our roles as fathers, our kids are going to have other figures in their lives that are impactful.
Yep.
And so getting them open to that fact and also being open to it. I know that I am my daughter's dad, but there's going to be a lot of other men that teachers, coaches, or whatever that might build them and their impact.
Yeah, it goes back to the whole, when we were talking about when you're in a co-parenting situation, working through the personal stuff so that you can be the best two parents for your child. You know what I mean? Miles' stepdad is an asset to me.
Yeah.
He can buffer sometimes.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I can go to him when I know that there's some trigger moments between Miles' mom and I.
Yeah.
I can go to his stepdad and be like, hey, so I'm feeling like this, some tension over here.
Right.
This is where I'm coming from.
You got a little bit of a tag team partner.
Exactly. And vice versa.
Yeah.
Miles' mom can go to Jenny.
Sure.
They were just talking about summer schedules, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what we have. And I know that sounds like really romanticized.
Sure.
No, it took work.
Yeah.
But it was a kind
it's probably still in work. Every day.
It will take work.
Yeah.
But I think for me and Miles' mom, we wanted to make this thing work as a priority for Miles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that Miles saw consistency amongst 4 of his parents.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And one of the things that you talked about was communication.
Yep.
And I know that's huge. In your blended family, you said, I know how you put it, but you're like, my kids will talk to me about anything.
Anything.
And I know that there's probably some dads out there that would say, how did you, I'm asking you too, like, how did you get to that point where you now feel like they can talk to you about everything? Obviously, it's being open and nothing's off the table, but there's a muscle there that you have to build through time and the years. How did you do that?
I think just conversation has always been natural. Like Miles and I spent a lot of time in the car because we were going to all these AAU tournaments. He was rolling with me. And so naturally, instead of just playing music the whole time, we just sit and chat.
Yeah.
He's riding in the back, telling me about what happened at preschool, all this stuff. And I'm like, man, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
You doing all that shit? Wow. That's cool. You know what I mean? It was natural. But as the kids got older and you sense something, you're present to their lives. You're not just there, but you're actually paying attention. You're present. I talk about that later. I think it's okay to have conversations where you tell them that we are going to talk and this is non-negotiable.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that they understand, okay, wow, dad, stepdad, Webb, he's here. He wants to hear from me.
Yeah.
And you know what? Shit, I should probably say something. This is non-negotiable. He's forced, even if
But this is what we do when we feel a certain way. We talk about it.
I go, hey, something's on your mind. Let's chat.
Yeah.
And I think that's where patience comes in.
Yeah.
If you get 3 words, they're telling you something.
Sure. Yeah.
You get 100 words, it makes it easier because now you just have to listen.
Yeah. And I like this idea of talking all the time because with my daughter, when I pull her in and I'll say, hey, dad needs to talk to you.
Yep.
And when I need to talk to her, sometimes it's just for me to tell her that I love her and I missed her.
Yep.
And the reason why I do that is because I know when I was growing up, if my dad sat me down and said, I need to talk to you, there's some shit going on. Something is
like,
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be like that. So when I say, I grab her and I say, hey, daddy needs to talk to you. I missed you so much today. I love you.
Yeah.
And so it's not a bad thing that we need to talk. And so when you were saying we need to talk, that makes sense just all the time, whatever it might be. If it's a good feeling, it's a bad feeling, like we should talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely just, I want to create open and safe spaces in communication.
Yeah.
But kids need practice. So that's where like the non-negotiable, sometimes it's a non-negotiable. We're going to talk.
Yeah.
Something's going on. Let's work through this.
Yeah.
Other times, because I've created this safe environment for communication, now when I go, hey, you good? And they're like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Because if it wasn't.
Whereas I think as parents, we don't want to like, especially of teenagers.
Yeah.
We don't want to be all up in their business.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But I think there's a way in which you have a right to be in their business, not because you're the parents and you need to know, but more so, let's get our kids practicing how to communicate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's going to be beneficial in their relationships.
Yeah.
At work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With their siblings.
For sure.
Being able to practice talking, maybe talking about hard shit.
Yeah.
Practice talking about those things.
Your coaching really comes through because you say, kids need practice.
Yeah.
Dude, they get in the reps, all this.
Exactly.
It's so coming through. I
daily
love it.
habits, daily vitamins.
I love it. All the things.
Yeah.
Awesome. So there's another element of it. So when I say you have a truly unique story, we've already touched on some, but there's an element of ADHD
Yes.
that is happening in your family.
Yes.
I believe you mentioned your wife and a couple of your kids.
Yep.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's what it is,
Yeah.
right? It's a different set of tools, as I like to describe it, right? It's never seen as a negativity in our household. In fact, it's something that we talk about having superpowers with if it's made aware of, if it's present. But we also talk about this different set of tools that my wife, my stepson have to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
And
So it's your wife and your stepson.
yeah.
Okay.
And for a while there's certain things like I'd give my stepson like, okay, go downstairs, do this, do that. Give him 3 things. And every single time he'd get 1.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bruh, it's literally brush your teeth,
Yeah.
make your bed, tidy up your floor a little bit.
Yeah.
And he'd come up in his,
Was this before you knew?
this before we knew.
Oh, okay.
And he'd get his teeth brushed.
Yeah.
Or, hey, we're going to bed, make sure you turn the TV off, turn the lights off. Always turn the TV off, always left all the lights on.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, yo, you're not respecting what we're asking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you didn't know.
I didn't
Yeah.
know. And, or with my wife, it'd be like, I want to do this and let's do this. So we do it. Like, let's say implement something in our parenting or whatnot. And then there would be like this slow taking her foot off the gas. And I'd be
Moving
like,
away.
hey, yo, like
We
what?
said we were going
Well,
to
yeah,
implement that.
what's up? What are we doing? Or even just the amount of things that go through my wife when she thinks about one thing, the amount of things she thinks about
Sure.
within that one thought. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
yo, like you're crazy.
Man, you can't say that word. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Can't say that word.
Yes,
But I'm
yeah.
thinking like, that's not normal.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I spent a lot of my time over the last maybe 4 years really diving into understanding neurodivergency, but also how to parent in that, and then
Yeah.
also how to partner in that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is it's something that we know, but it's not an excuse,
Sure.
because I think it's real easy it's just my ADD. Okay. Remember, you got a toolbox.
Sure.
It doesn't look like my toolbox, but it's your toolbox.
Yeah.
And what are we doing with it? What tools do we
Can we
need
use?
can we use?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think when we say someone has ADHD or ADD, I think there's a period at the end of it. Oh, okay. So you must be all over the place and you
Yeah.
must be all da-da. No.
Yeah.
Could
be.
let's not put a period just there. Let's explore what that is. Let's explore what that looks like. It looks different in my stepson than it does in my wife.
Yeah.
So when I can understand those and define those moments, there's grace, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he actually wasn't purposely leaving the lights on.
Sure.
Oh, he's not purposely not listening to me when I ask him to go do 3 things.
Yeah.
I got to simplify it a little bit.
Yeah. When you knew, how did the parenting kind of change from kid to kid?
Honestly,
Yeah.
and I'm, that's because I'm all about just being transparent. Like
Yeah.
it relieved a lot of like tension that I had parenting my stepson. That I
Yeah.
was just like, this kid does not get it. Oh no,
Sure.
he got it.
Yeah.
He gets it.
Yeah.
I needed to adjust something.
So it was a change with you.
It was a change with
Yeah,
me. So now
understanding where it was coming from.
now
and
I
all
could
that.
be better for him. You know what I mean? And then with my wife, it's just something that I'm aware of. And now there's little trigger words when she feels like she has to do it all herself. We call it captain.
Yeah.
And I can be like, hey babe,
You
you're
don't
in
got
captain.
a captain.
Yeah, you're in captain mode. And so we can make light of it.
Yeah.
I make light of a lot of the stuff in our house because that's just what I'm used to.
That's how
It's
you
like
are.
barbershop talk
Yeah.
where we just rank on each other,
Yeah.
clown on each other.
Yeah.
That's what our household is. And
Yeah.
so we've turned kind of ADHD in our house until there's moments with, yo, toolbox time. What's up? Or there's moments where it's like, good God, baby, it was time to go 5 minutes ago. And in that 5 minutes, you started a load of laundry, you started mopping the floor, and you ran the dishwasher. We needed to leave 5 minutes ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. That's funny. One quick question: if we go back for your son, how did you know? Like how did you? Because I'm sure there are some dads here that might be thinking maybe my son or daughter is. Was there something or things that he would do other than leaving lights on it, or maybe there's something else?
It was harder for me. It was easier for my wife. My wife knew.
Just find out.
My wife had an
Maybe she saw a
intuition.
little bit of what she was going through.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. And it was almost like taboo when we were growing up, like ADD. Oh,
Oh yeah,
you are
you're some weird
you're
kid.
weird.
Yeah. You're bugging out all the
You're
time.
bugging out.
Like,
Oh no, you're this, but you'll grow out of it.
sure.
But maturation helps,
Right.
but you never grow out of it, right?
Right. We're just gonna learn how to cope in
And
better
so I
ways.
think she had this. There were some school things like disruptive, not disruptive, mean, but maybe an impulsive, and he would shout something out.
Sure.
Or he's highly intelligent. He'd get done with his work and just couldn't get done with his work and just chill.
Yeah.
He'd get done with his work and then have to find something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like this constant. So it was behavioral, right?
Yeah.
Tommy needs this. Tommy, and it's no. We need there might be something else that's not behavioral.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I had noticed these things, but to be honest with you, I'm like, man, this kid don't listen.
Yeah.
I need him to listen. Babe, you've asked him to do this now 6 times. What's up?
Yeah.
Those are the things I noticed. And when she brought it to my attention, maybe he has I think he has ADHD. I was like, huh. And I started diving in more and learning a little bit more. And I was like, I think you're nailing this.
Yeah. Just to close the door on that one. One piece of advice, one quick sentence for a dad going through this right now. One line.
Patience.
Boom.
And persistence.
I love that. Hey,
Patience
that
and
might be it.
persistence. It's
That might
literally
be it.
on my hand. Patience and persistence.
I love that. Okay. We're going to move into some quick questions here that I asked you. Is the first one is, what's the biggest challenge of being a dad?
I think the biggest challenge for me personally, and this might be my athletic background, is as dad, I always, am I doing a good enough job?
Sure.
That's always the question.
Yeah.
It's not about like kids' schedules or having to parent through ADHD or having to parent with 2 other sets of parents. And that's so hard for me. The challenging piece is I question, am I doing a good enough
Am
job?
I doing enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Hey, you're doing enough. And I like to say that because when we ask ourselves, am I doing enough? Or am I being a good dad? That shows that we are being a good dad because we're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Or I'll have a friend come up to me and be like, how did you do this? I think I'm not doing great at this. And the fact that you're coming and asking for advice shows me that you're doing it good. You're thinking about it. You're being intentional about it. We use that word on Rise and Dad all the time, just intentionalness to doing stuff.
Yep.
Oh man, you're doing good
Yeah,
because you're
thank
thinking
you.
about it. All right. Best thing and worst thing about being a dad.
Oh, I think it's really hard to pinpoint just one best thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think the best thing about being a dad is when you realize like there's something outside of you that you are living for and responsible for.
Yeah.
That's like the best part. You know what I mean? Like, I have this responsibility and I'm putting on this dad jacket every day and it's an honor to wear. I
Yeah.
think that's like the best part. The worst part, man, is when you can predict certain things in their life that are happening, or you might know the solution.
Yeah.
But you can't always fix it.
Sure.
Walking that line
They gotta
between,
go.
okay, this is where I need to step in and fix this,
Right.
or this is where they need to get hurt by that relationship.
Yeah.
This is where they need to understand that they didn't work hard enough to make that team.
Yeah.
The natural consequences, so they can start defining more and becoming more themselves. That's the hardest part, because you want to, don't say that. Oh, you said it. Well, look what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
the
tough. It's
worst
like,
part.
Dad can't fix everything.
Yeah.
And nor will he for the rest of the life.
Yeah,
Right.
being sick.
Yeah.
I saw that on one of your other shows, like not being able to cure your kid when they're sick. Like that feeling that sucks.
Yeah. 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 I feel you. All right. Last one. The secret to being a great dad.
Oh. I think we paying attention. You talked
Gotcha.
about intentionality. I think that all kind of being consistent, intentionality, I think that all comes from paying attention, right? We talk about like 30 minutes of undivided present time with your kids or an hour, whatever it is. I'm completely locked into my kid for that hour, right? I think there's ways you can be locked into your kids without having to say, I'm locked into you for an hour. Yeah, that might be undivided, but I'm locked into my kids all the time. Like driving over here to do the podcast, I'm thinking about how's Riley doing? Today's their day off.
Yeah.
What's Riley and Tommy up to? What's Miles up to?
Yeah.
They're constantly on my mind, but I'm constantly paying attention to them. They feel seen.
Yeah. I like that. That's a great piece of advice. All right. So now this is called Rise and Dad's Choice. So it's just this or that. What would you choose to handle, the morning routine or the bedtime routine?
Morning routine. Let's get out the door. Hey, you're going to be late for practice. Let's go. Let's get there.
This one is for a little bit in your earlier days. Deal with a poopy blowout or a meltdown.
Ooh, poopy blowouts. Poopy blowouts. I can't do meltdowns are tough. Get up off the floor.
Okay. Attend one of your kids' friends' birthday parties or a school field trip.
Oh, God. Field trip.
All right. A long car ride or a long flight.
Car ride.
Eat out or cook in.
Oh, cook in.
Newborn or a teenager.
Oh. Give me a second on this one, man. Because I got
These are quick hitters.
I got both. Teenagers.
Teenager. All right. One-on-one time with a kid or the whole family. And this could be, you're not being selfish if you want some one-on-one times.
Wow, that is a tough one. Family.
One-on-one would be like a daddy-son date somewhere.
One-on-one time.
Taking your daughter out to pizza.
One-on-one time.
Yeah.
One-on-one time.
I think it's for me too, one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because when I'm with my wife and my daughter's fully with my wife, she's like with my wife.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so when it's just daddy and her, like, we're kicking it. We're having a great time.
Absolutely. And you know what? One thing we can never tell our wives?
Yeah.
Oh, she was easy. She was great. He was, that was easy. Oh, how was your day? Like, what'd you guys do? We did this. She's been great all day. They'll look at you like, you know what
I looked at the camera.
You know, exactly. We can't say that to our wives.
That's right.
Oh, no, she had a little tantrum here, you know.
Hey, Ryan, this is the end of the pod. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me, I should say.
Yeah.
This is really fun. I think we had such a great conversation around so many different things, and I knew that we were going to have a great one. Thanks for joining the pod.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for doing this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's Kevin from the Rise and Dad podcast. Thanks so much for watching this episode. We hope that you like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, rate, do all the great things that'll help us keep making content for you. Thanks a lot.